Good evening. We're in Studio A6 tonight, and it's my pleasure to be speaking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing tonight, Mr.?
Good, very good, very good.
You look warm in your heavy-duty sweater and your khaki pants. Are you having a good day?
Had a good day, yeah.
All right, good. Mr. Jeckovich wrote a book several years ago called Their Mother's Sons, and it's just a slice of history back from 1925 to present. And to give you an idea how simple life was then. How simple life was in 1925. Mr. Jeckovich lived during the Depression. Did you feel like you were poor?
No, I didn't feel slighted. I wasn't cold. I was well fed. Easter time we got all new clothes.
So it didn't affect you much?
Christmas time we got all kinds of presents.
It didn't affect you much?
No.
During the Depression, where were you living?
On Orange Avenue.
Or was it 13th Street?
Huh?
Or was it 13th Street?
No, we lived on 13th Street for maybe 6 months. We moved.
Okay, so you're in the house at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, 14303. You lived there basically all your life.
Yeah.
When you got out of the war, you went back to 3063.
Yeah. Well, my mother was still there.
Yeah. Your mother lived a long time. How old was your mother when she left?
89.
89. Mr. Jeckovich, by the way, is knocking on the door of 100. He's in excellent health. He reads through 3 newspapers every morning, including his favorite, the Wall Street Journal, and he doesn't use glasses. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? How many listeners now are 40 years old? They're all putting on their reading glasses. Mr. Jeckovich, during World War II, he was shot up by a sniper. He was beat up, stabbed, bombed. They had dirty bombs back there, and when they load up the bomb with nuts and bolts, razors, and it blew up over your head, and it hit a lot of people. Mr. Jeckovich still has that shrapnel in his leg, and also he suffered from trench foot and frostbite.
Frostbite. I got the frostbite right now.
Your frostbite's still bothering you 80 years later.
Yeah.
Imagine that, 80 years. Well, it's been a cold winter in the United States, and many people are skiing, and it's easy to get frostbite. If you do, here's a little tidbit of information from World War II veteran. If you start developing frostbite in the, say, for example, on the slopes, don't run in to the clubhouse and stand behind a fire. That's the worst thing you can do. Get yourself a snowball, rub it on the frostbite area, and it'll get your blood circulating again. That's what frostbite is needed, to get your blood circulated again. So that's a World War II tidbit. Mr. Jeckovich, he was awarded 2 Bronze Stars and a Purple Heart, and he's a World War II veteran that was discharged 4 or 5 months after the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge was one of the bloodiest battles during World War II, and many young soldiers never made it home. Never made it home. Stand by, please. Did you see part of this book? Oh, never mind. Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich also helped liberate the prisoners of the war and the Holocaust victims. And what did they tell you when you're knocking down the gates of the prisoner of war camps?
Don't feed them. Don't feed them.
And why is that?
Because their stomachs are all screwed up.
That's correct. Many of them were 60, 70, 80, 90 pounds. Most couldn't walk because they're so weak. What a toll Hitler put on these people. What a toll. Millions and millions of innocent Jews were slaughtered, tortured to death, and ideas that your mind couldn't even wander to think of. And this plays in rent space in these World War II veterans' mind 6 to 10 times a day, seeing that it will never go away. It leaves you when you leave this earth. Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. They were nicknamed the Diaper Division. Why is that?
They're all young kids, 19 years old.
Diaper Division. They're all teenagers.
33s.
And the code in the Army would be a 33. Get some 33s to put on the front line. That means get some teenagers to get on the front line, because believe it or not, when you're 25, you don't have the energy and the stamina as a 19-year-old does. You simply don't. Those 19-year-olds could, at least then, the 19-year-olds could fight around the clock. But as the older you get, the less you can. But keep in mind, Mr. Jeckovich's division was affectionately called the Diaper Division. The Diaper Division, because they're all teenagers. But their title was changed at the end of the war. They had a new name. They were called the Bulge Busters or the Bastards of Bastogne. So things changed drastically
23.
during the end of the war, because these young soldiers proved themselves at great risk. Many were injured, many were dead. During the beginning of World War II, we had 16,400,000 young men and women in the World War II. Today we have less than 100,000. 16,300,000 are simply dead. They died either during the war or of old age or disease prior to obtaining old age. So we have less than 100,000 left. The majority of that is the rear echelon. What did the rear echelon do?
Well, they supported the front troops.
They were important, but they never made it to the front.
No.
They never made it to the 4-foot snowdrifts,
No.
the 25-degree below in the Ardennes forest.
Yeah.
They didn't witness death to the left, death to the right, kids' heads being blown off. They didn't witness that. But they still were instrumental during the war. In fact, all the war stories you heard up to now were primarily from the rear echelon.
Yeah.
No one even knew Mr. Jeckovich was a combat fighter or in the war until a few years back. The actual warriors on the front line, they just don't talk. That's the way it is. You don't talk. But now it's time. Now it's time. We're losing, as far as the combat vets, we have less than 6,000 real combat vets left. We have 6,000 real combat vets left, and we're losing them at the rate of 150 a day. We're losing them at a rate of 150 days. So do the math. Time's up. What do you think? Time's up. So if you want to talk and ask a real World War II veteran a question, here's the real deal. Take a look at your screen. Text us at 407-366-0000. 407-366-0000. Or as we say on the beautiful island, our God's country, of Hague Point to Fusky Island, South Carolina, we talk a little differently there in North and South Carolina. We say text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. Jeckovich at 407-366-0000. Mr. Jeckovich will answer all text messages in a day or so, or if you want to speak to him directly, simply say it, and they'll give you the time to call him. You talk with him directly, and ask any questions from A to Z. It doesn't have to be about the war, for God's sakes. Mr. Jeckovich has had many positions and worn many hats during his almost 100 years on this earth. So ask him. If he makes your life a little simpler or solves a problem, then that's a wonderful thing. That's what it's here for. That's what he's here for, to share information, to make your life a little easier. Did you ever read the magazine The Yank during World War II?
Right.
Did you ever read the magazine The Yank during World War II?
No.
Y-A-N-K, The Yank. The Yank was a military magazine. Y-A-N-K, The Yank.
Or was it Stars and Stripes?
It's Stars and Stripes magazine.
Yeah.
You read that, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's propaganda too.
But an interesting story I was reading the other day is in the Yank magazine, when the war was winding down in the European front, most of the young soldiers survived the war, and they were thankful that they're still alive, but they're worried about a rogue sniper taking a pot shot.
Yeah.
So the war was basically on its way out, and they're worried about
18.
They're worried about a rogue sniper taking a pot shot at them. And that was a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Is there still a lot of Nazi fanatics then?
Yeah.
Still a lot of Nazi fanatics then. And so that was true, and then they were very, very worried also that after the European theater was winding down, that they'd be sent to the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
All the soldiers were worried.
No, they're not going to the Pacific, no.
Yet there was one man that wanted to go to the Pacific.
That's Patton. He wanted to go, yeah.
General George C. Patton, he was all excited about the war winding down in Europe, and he wanted to get on a plane right away and go to the Pacific.
Yeah.
Why do you want to go to the Pacific so badly?
He competed with Eisenhower all the time.
So he had a great big ego and had to be fed.
Yeah.
Had to be fed. Unfortunately, he had an accident which didn't allow him to go to the Pacific, and his life was ended in a non-combat fashion. In a non-combat fashion, it had to do with an automobile. Did you ever run in with Patton one time during the actual war?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, he spotted a car, spotted the Jeep in the trailer there. Looked up on us in a bar sleeping. He said, "What the hell are you guys doing?" He says, "Get the hell up, get the hell, go."
And what time was this at?
3 o'clock in the morning.
And what was the weather like? Cold as hell?
It was cold, it was raining out.
Did you have a chance to sleep at all before Patton came in?
Well, we slept about an hour and a half.
And that was it?
Yeah. We just getting comfortable with all that straw and everything.
How did he spot you in there?
Huh?
How did he spot you?
A post, they put the Jeep and trailer camouflage up, and he spotted it.
Wow. But you never seen him again? You never seen...
No, he was too busy pissing them all up front.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting.
Well, he's the only one that made the moves in the front. Eisenhower didn't get up there.
But Patton was right up there.
Yeah, he was up there. He was up there all the time. He's the one across the river, and they said, "What the hell is that guy doing over there?"
Yeah, that's an interesting story. They all said, Mr. Jeckovich told us earlier that they didn't believe Patton could cross the Rhine River first. Because once you cross the Rhine, you're really in enemy territory where you're going to take control. And all the top brass, including Eisenhower, said, "You're not prepared. You don't have the men, you don't have the equipment, and the weather's horrible."
Yeah.
Patton says, "We're still going." So in the middle of the blizzard snowstorm, and just a lot of endurance. Pat and his men were able to cross the Rhine River when no one thought he could.
Yeah.
And Pat was quite a showman, and he always had press around him. What's the first thing Pat did when he crossed the Rhine?
Pissed in the water.
That's right. You're 100% right. You were there. Patton was told he couldn't cross the Rhine. They didn't have the ability or manpower. He gave everyone the middle finger salute. And once he got into German territory, he whipped it out and took a piss. And he made sure all the press was able to photograph him in the process of it. He was a showman. And he sent that to all the top brass who said he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
Wow. We have several texts. A lot of them are repeat. Do you feel up to asking questions on any of the text?
What?
I have a few text messages here. Many are repeat. But do you feel like answering any text questions? When the war was over in World War II, how long did it take you from the time the war was over with to get back to now?
Well, we went back, we were discharged on point systems.
And what was your point system like?
What your relationship was at home, and if you got dependents at home.
So how long did it take you from the end of the war to get home?
I say almost a year.
A year? And tell us, weren't the camps where you're going to be discharged at?
Philip Morris, Lucky Strike, Pall Mall, they're all cigarettes.
They're all based on a cigarette theme, like Pall Mall, Lucky Strike, Chesterfield. And that's what the tents were where the soldiers stayed before they were legally allowed to be discharged into back to civilian life. And during the actual war itself, the Red Cross, of all people, were passing out non-filter cigarettes like they're candy bars.
Yeah.
Everyone got them, right?
Yeah.
Lots of them.
A lot of kids smoked then, started to smoke.
Started to smoke then, the stress of the war, and everyone to the left and the right smoking, so they started smoking. So, unfortunately, if the Nazis' bullet didn't kill you 20, 30 years later, what happened? The cigarettes killed you.
Yeah. Lung cancer.
Yeah. Wow.
But I didn't smoke. I didn't smoke at all.
You never smoked?
No.
Did you ever drink?
No.
All right. That's a good part of your longevity, I guess. We got the subject of cigarettes. You said something about the tobacco companies, once the war was over, looked for another way to get kids smoking. What did they do?
They put a pack of cigarettes on the counter when they want the kids to steal it.
Yeah. Tens of thousands of 7-Elevens. Even this went way up to the 70s and 80s, I believe. They would put displays of cigarette packs right at the front of the 7-Elevens and convenience store cash registers. And so it would make it so easy for a youngster of underage, 12, 13, 14, to steal a pack of cigarettes. And the tobacco company's motto was simply this: a pack stole today is a carton sold tomorrow.
Yeah.
So right during World War II, right up to the top, they were pushing this junk on everybody. And it was an absolute shame. It was an absolute shame. So the next question is, you're knocking on the door of 100. You've been through hell and back. Hell and back is probably just the prayers of Renee, which was a nun that later had her whole family killed by the Nazis. Went into the French resistance, when Mr. Jeckovich was very close with. In fact, when Mr. Jeckovich was in Paris, after he got out of the hospital, he went to Paris and hospital for 3 months to recover from his wounds, but then he was in a rehabilitation about 50 miles from Paris, and him and Renee, the former nun, who left the convent to join the French resistance because both of her parents were tortured and killed by the Nazis, and both of her teenage brothers were. So she went into the French resistance. But Mr. Jeckovich, when he was staying in Paris, he'd be with Renee on a daily basis. She prayed for Mr. Jeckovich for his survival, and so did his mother, a devout Roman Catholic, pray for his survival. So this could be a pretty good reason why he survived the war. But it's an interesting fact on how determined Mr. Jeckovich was to see Renee. When he was in Paris, it was just a hop, skip, and a jump to her apartment for 3 or 4 months. But then when he went to rehabilitation, it was about 60 miles away from
Yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, well, let me figure it out. He would take a bus to the train station to Paris, and then a taxi cab to Renee's house.
Yeah.
Wow. And you did that every day.
Yeah. Well, I do it every day, though.
Pretty close to it, though.
Yeah. Well.
Did you ever make it back late?
AWOL? No, never. No.
So if you were,
I was on roll call every day.
you're right on time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Renee's ending wasn't kind. Renee's ending was very cruel. Renee was a great artist, and when you went to her apartment the first time, when you met her by accident in the park, when boys were floating a boat, you went to her apartment, and what did you see in her apartment?
A lot of German, high-class German officers on the wall.
They were on the wall.
She was painting their faces.
Renee was besides being a former nun, Renee was an unbelievable artist. She drew portraits of all these German officers, SS, that had these great big monster-sized egos. They wanted to see themselves in that uniform with all the medals, and Renee would paint them. And what was the reason why Renee...
Well, they were talking. They got together. So what happened over there yesterday? What did you do yesterday? Did you make that move over there? We got to go over there tomorrow. She got a lot of information from them. Then she relayed it back to the Allies.
So what she would be doing was basically painting the Nazis' portraits of the upper officers to see if she could get a little insight of anything that she could relay to the French resistance. Did you go to the French resistance headquarters?
Down in the basement.
Yeah.
City hole.
How was it?
Yeah, the stinky hole.
So, when it's all said and done, what finally happened with Renee?
Renee, she got killed.
Why did she get killed?
Because the Germans got wise to her and they figured that she was a spy, and they took her out of the woods and shot her.
And that's the end of it. Minutes, please.
And got shot her in the head.
And that was it. Wow. Sounds like a wonderful...
7.
I don't know later. Also, there's another text that... What do you attribute to your longevity?
Well, genes, the genes.
Once again, how old was your mother?
89.
How old was your father?
43.
43. That's how this book came about. That's what it's all about. Mr. Jekovich's father was a legal immigrant who came from Ellis Island the proper way, from Russia, from a dirty, stinking, rotten factory town in Russia, and he came to the United States to give his children a better life, to get a better life. But as a result, they would never accept nothing as a handout. They would never do it, not their makeup. So they basically worked themselves to death with 3 different jobs, like a slave trying to give Mr. Jeckovich and his 2 brothers and sister a better life. And what happened? He worked so damn hard that he was laying some cement by hand in Niagara Falls, New York, and he dropped dead of a heart attack, right?
Right.
How'd you find out that he was dead?
Well, a policeman come to the house at 8 o'clock at night and said, you got fathers that got hurt, he's at the hospital, we'd like to take and see him.
Yeah. This was a young boy, he's not even a teenager yet. Police comes to the house, and where did the police take you?
Took him to the hospital, and then they left me, and I asked for...
Wait, let me ask you. The police just dropped you off at the front door?
Yeah.
Okay, then what?
And then I asked the nurse at the door, at the reception, I said, where is my father? She says, well, I'll take you down there. And when she said down, it triggered off something. Why am I going down?
So what happened then?
Well, it took me down to the morgue.
Down to the morgue, a young boy, not even a teenager, down to the morgue. And what did you see when he got to the morgue?
Well, my father was dead, he laid on a slab. He had cement on his pants, and his hands were all full of cement. face was cloth with cement in that.
What was on his face?
Cement.
Cement, yeah.
You know, little pieces that really wiped his face. And
Was his eyes closed?
his eyes were closed, yeah.
And what did they tell you to do at this point?
So he goes to his pocket, see what he's got.
And what were in his pockets?
Well, they got the cigarette, the Prince Albert can of tobacco, those tissue papers they rolled up in, keys for the house, couple quarters, no dollar bills, all quarters, a couple dimes, that was it.
Do you still have those momentums?
No, I had them, but who knows what happened to them?
Would you put them in like a bag or something?
I put them in a drawer at the house, and that was it.
That was it. Well, they dropped you off at the hospital, a young boy, and then how did you get home from the hospital?
How did I get home? I think I called my sister. My sister was driving. I said, "Can you pick me up?" She said, "Where are you at?" She said, "I'm with the father. I was looking at my father. I was taking care of my father." So she picked me up.
Okay. What month was that?
February.
Was there a lot of snow on the ground?
Well, it was ice, roads were icy, filled up with tracks from that they left ice marks on the street. It was cold, yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. Many years later, you heard the announcement where everyone did it. The news spread like rapid fire. The Japanese, on December 7th, 1941, bombed Pearl Harbor. What do you remember that?
I was on Sunday, I was skating on the creek.
Skating, were you playing hockey?
No, I was skating down the creek, going all the way from our house down to Pine Avenue.
So you went a long ways.
Yeah.
Did you go under the bridges?
On the bridges, yeah.
Do you think anyone's skating on the creek this year?
The what?
Do you think today, 2025, people are still skating on that creek?
No, I don't think so. I think that creek, at that time, when I left there, you couldn't see the creek was all over with overgrowth.
So the city did not maintain it, so the
No,
trees and weeds.
if you walked in there, the creek wasn't that bad, but it was just probably 5 feet of mud.
And what you had, it was crystal clear.
Yeah.
Minutes, please. Speaking of ice skating, things are a lot different then and simpler. Remember that.
2.5.
Huh?
2.5.
Simpler. Today, how did you go ice skating in front of your house?
You know what?
How would you ice skate in front of your house?
Well, my house was only 10, 15 feet from the creek.
Well, on the street you went ice skating. How did you do that?
We flooded the fire hydrant, fed it up, and played hockey on it.
Yeah, so you open up the fire hydrant. Simple life. You open up the fire hydrant, wait till it froze, you played hockey.
Yeah.
What do you think they'd do to a kid today opening up a fire hydrant?
Probably so. Well, look what they did in California. They couldn't get the fire hydrant. There's no water. They didn't have any water.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Welcome to California. Oh my God. What a miserable, rotten place.
And for kids to know how to do that.
Yeah.
Our kids would not know
Where'd
how
you
to do
get the
that.
tools to open up the fire hydrant? Where'd you get the tools?
Oh, my father had a big pipe wrench.
So yeah, I can bike wrench. And none of the neighbors complained?
Well, there was 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. At night it was dark out there.
No
It was
one
cold
bothered
out there. They're not sitting on a porch.
How long did it take for it to freeze?
Huh?
How long did it take for it to freeze?
What?
All that water you put out there.
Oh, probably a day, yeah.
Were you a good hockey player?
Was I a good hockey player?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had good skates on, yeah.
What kind of skates did you have?
Single blade skates.
Single blade skates, minutes.
50 seconds.
Single blade skates. Were they black or brown?
Black.
Were they figure skating skates or were they
No, they didn't have the long blade coming up. They're regular hockey skates.
regular?
Hockey stick.
So you
Yeah.
could go fast and turn real
Where'd you
fast.
get those at?
Montgomery Wards.
And where'd you get your hockey stick at?
Probably Walmart's or Lowe's.
Okay. And a lot of kids played hockey there. Right?
Yeah, that was a big thing then, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Did you ever play hockey since then?
No.
Did you ever go skating?
When I was with the kids, I played hockey with them, yeah. Then we moved on, I got older, and then that was it.
So you didn't play hockey?
No, we
There's
didn't.
a rink right around here. We should take them one day. Huh?
Yeah. minutes?
What?
4 seconds.
You still wanna skate?